ask unanimous consent that we dispense with the quorum call.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, 2 weeks ago, I stood alongside so many of my Senate colleagues from both sides of the aisle in a press conference announcing the Russian sanctions legislation. It was just 3 days before that this legislation and this cause lost its champion, Senator Lindsey Graham. Today, many of us attended his service at the National Cathedral. And in typical Lindsey fashion, he somehow orchestrated a vote on Ukraine's future, on peace through strength, on that very same day. While this sanctions bill quickly amassed bipartisan support across the Senate, it took more than a year of tireless work by one man and a few friends, Senator Dick Blumenthal, Senator Jeanne Shaheen, and Senator Roger Wicker, to finally get this to the floor. Even though Lindsey is not physically with us today, his presence can certainly be felt in this chamber. During his 33 years of public service, Lindsey achieved a great deal. He used his role on the Senate Appropriations Committee to make sure that South Carolina's hard-earned taxpayer dollars came back home. He was a fierce and outspoken advocate for the most vulnerable among us, the unborn. He led the fight to repeal Section 230 because he believed in protecting the next generation online. He believed in blind justice, in defending the Constitution, and in confirming judges to the bench who would uphold the law. And he was an incredible colleague, mentor, and friend. But Mr. President, this list of accomplishments, while it doesn't even span all of the things he did, it's impressive. But he said that this legislation that we are voting on today, he told me would be the most consequential piece of legislation that he ever led and got to the president's desk. Now that's saying something. It is an honor to now help champion one of his highest priorities, and not just for Lindsey, but importantly for the doctrine in which he so deeply and passionately believed. And that, Mr. President, is peace through strength. Today, we have an opportunity to advance this legislation at a critical juncture in the war, where Russia is the weakest that it has been since the start of the war more than 4 years ago. This legislation will give the president the tools and the economic firepower that he needs to sanction individuals who fund Russian war and its machine, to stop countries from purchasing Russian oil and gas that is Putin's financial lifeline. And it will also hold the regime in Tehran accountable for fueling 47 years of terrorism around the globe. There is no reason this legislation should not advance with overwhelming bipartisan support, Mr. President, and I hope that that's what we see here today. Ukraine and the world need this war of aggression to end. As I reflected today on Lindsey's service and his life, and so many memories that I have with him, one thing came to mind when we were leaving Normandy after being there for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. He said to me, "I want you to remember how important the decisions we as political leaders make. Because if we fail to do our job, young men and women are sent into harm's way." He said, "There's no doubt the greatest generation earned that title." And he said the decision that was in front of us right now, as he reflected on all of this, was that people miscalculated Hitler. He said many were doing the exact same thing to Putin. And he believed that that miscalculation would ultimately be an enormous mistake. So, Mr. President, let's honor Lindsey's memory the best way we know how, by responding to Putin's war of aggression with a show of strength, and vote today to hold the Kremlin accountable. It is time now to get the Lindsey O. Sanctioning Russia and Iran Act of 2026 to the President's desk. I hope my colleagues will join me in doing just that this evening. I yield the floor.